Welcome to the Celebrating Women podcast. Mandee and Ashley Fisher dig into conversation about women, their issues, their thoughts, their lives, and celebrate their gifts, their talents, their courage. It's the Celebrating Women podcast. Presented by Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler, Texas. Hey guys, it's Mandee, and you know I need to go relax sometimes, right? We've talked about it. Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa is where I go in the Cumberland Shopping Center in Tyler. And you know, when I went recently, I had a massage from Jessica. Highly recommend. I also decided to do some add-ons this time, which I like to do most times. This time I did the hand and foot treatment with like a peppermint scrub and also the scalp treatment peppermint. Let me just tell you, on a hot summer day, it is super refreshing and amazing to add on to your service. Highly recommend this. And you know what I loved about Jessica? She communicated well, and she literally pulled my shoulders down out of my ears. And I needed it. It was great. So head on over to book your massage today. Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa in the Cumberland Shopping Center, Tyler, or online at handandstonetyler.com.
Welcome back to the Celebrating Women podcast. I'm Ashley Fisher.
I'm Mandee and we have a special guest today.
Hi, special guest.
Do I say it?
Say your name.
Tiffany Honea.
Tiffany, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So I feel extra special because I got to introduce Tiffany and Ashley to each other today. And Tiffany's been in my life for, many years. And she's been listening to the podcast since it started. And, you know, it's just funny. Right before we started recording, we were talking about how things have just sort of lined up the way they're supposed to.
The alignment.
The alignment. You know, on a recent episode, we talked about yoga with Kathy Williams-Bosley. And we thought, wow, we should explore this a little bit more because sometimes, especially in East Texas, people have a misunderstanding about what yoga is. And Tiffany and I have been practicing yoga together
for a long time.
For a long time. And you decided to become an instructor.
Yes, I did. In 2017, I think September of 17, I took, I started my teacher training at Community Yoga with Jen Dixon and Nikki Achban. And Nikki now has Flow Yoga, which I know, Mandee, you've gone over there a little bit.
Yeah.
Great people. I love them to death. I owe a lot to them because they got this beautiful passion lit within me in that teacher training. And it's not just, it's not about just the yoga poses. It's, that training was a personal transformation for me. It taught me a lot about myself and how to handle and deal with other people around me and just to create space for them to find their healing. So there's a lot more that goes into yoga training than people think. But yeah.
So it's not just about twisting yourself up into a pretzel on a mat.
It's not always about the poses. There's just so much more to it. And I know in this Bible Belt that we live in, it's misconstrued that we're worshiping another god or we're praising Buddha or something like that. And nothing against the Buddhists. Their beliefs, honestly, a lot of them align with our Christian beliefs. So it's funny because it's all meant for good. So if you're a Christian, don't be scared of it. It's actually been a space for me on my mat to a lot of the time just be in prayer and meditation with God. So there have been times that I've laid on my mat and cried and prayed to God for some answers or some direction. And there's a lot more to it.
This thought this last year for me has been so interesting because when we talk about anything regarding like physical exercise, it has come with such a connotation within our culture, like, well, what kind of workout do you do? And how active are you? And which is all good and great. But this new phrase is something that I love, which is joyful movement, which for some is running your tail off 10 miles every morning, and that gets your day going. And for some it's swimming, for some it's dancing, for some it's yoga. And I think I'm realizing how important it is to find what is that joyful movement for you?
Yeah.
And do it for you,
yes.
not for a result or not as a
Absolutely.
punishment or a reward system. So can you talk a little bit about how yoga has impacted you? You talked about like creating that space for healing for other people. Like, what does that look like? Because that, you know, when you think about it in regards to something physical, almost like exercise in our brains, it's like, wait, space for healing? What are you talking about? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so in a yoga class, we're going to start out with an intention for our class. Or your instructor might say, if you have something on your heart today, let that be your intention for your movement and your class and just your mind space as you move your body. So I think y'all have talked about on past episodes, the body keeps the score. I mean, that kind of, if you've ever read it, that kind of speaks to what we're doing. We're moving our bodies in a way that will release emotion and you can start to find some healing. I've had students come to me after a class and say, hey, when we did camel pose, for example, it's a big throat opener. It's your throat chakra. Why did I almost cry after I came out of that pose? And so I love to talk after class and say, hey, that's a throat chakra. So maybe there's something that you want to say to someone that you feel that you haven't been able to say.
Wow.
Maybe there's something you need to tell yourself and be truthful to yourself about. So it just kind of, all of the body and the healing and emotion kind of all go together. So that's what yoga does, is we kind of connect the two.
Okay.
In a mindful way.
In a mindful way. So, okay, two thoughts. Firstly, again, I am thinking again about our lovely listeners who, when they hear you say the word chakra, they go, ooh.
Yes.
Ah. So, but first, I want to say, for those who are like Christians, believers in God, all of that, our bodies were created prophetically. Notice that our eyes are pointing forward because we're not supposed to look back. Our feet are pointed forward because we're supposed to go forward and not go back. So there is something to that spiritual connection and how your body is made. And so remember, God is big. We don't have to be scared of that.
Yeah.
Explain like what a chakra is. Like, what does that even mean?
So we have chakras that line through the middle of our body from the top of our head to the base of our tailbone. And basically these spots throughout our body, if they get out of alignment, we're going to feel that in some way. And each one has a different, well, they've all got colors associated with them. So you think about the colors of the rainbow. We have indigo, we have purple, we have
Blue. Your
Blue.
throat chakra.
Thank
You're
you.
trying to say it.
blue, all the way down
Irony.
to all the way down to red, which is the root. And when we move our bodies in certain ways, those chakras are going to speak to you. And I think that the way that that alignment speaks to kind of what you're saying with how we're created physically. I mean, God created us,
Right.
I think that's kind of a way to connect with him in a way, because it's our body talking to us, and he made this body. So
I've heard them described as energy centers.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So it's not,
you, Mandee.
it's not like a chakra is not something you're going to learn about necessarily in anatomy classes, like an organ or like,
No.
but it's
in alignment with your organs. And there are different organs that they activate.
okay.
So,
So those energy points always align with like the throat chakra, the third chakra. That's our throat. Our heart chakra. That's going to align with our heart and also our lungs. Our solar plexus talks to the liver and our digestive system, and so on and so forth.
yeah,
and
your gut.
Yeah.
So
Gut health.
you've probably heard people talk about your solar plexus before and that gut feeling. That's kind of one and the same. Is that one yellow?
Yellow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then there's the sacral, which is reproduction, and then the root chakra is more about safety, right? And being
is.
grounded and feeling
safe,
connected.
feeling connected. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
It is really interesting.
That's really interesting.
I took a kind of an online course on it about a year ago, and I found it to be really uplifting and empowering to just have an awareness of those different concepts within my body, and to notice, like, if I do feel like I can't say something, or if I feel like Tiffany's saying, and the camel pose activates it. But also, if you feel like you have a lump in your throat,
Yep, that too.
it's probably that there's something you need to say.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like she said, either to yourself or maybe to somebody else that you're holding back on. And then the different colors that are related to them. On the course that I took, they encouraged, like, if you do feel like you need to speak up more often, wear more blue.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because it's related. That energy of the color is related to that energy within your throat. And so it gives you some additional confidence.
Well, and there's so much, again, I know that, it can all, there are so many people who are so scared of this because of the, the things that have been said and all of that. But like as a teacher, when I taught, we know scientifically that different colors produce different things. Like, ain't no teacher ever going to paint their room red.
That would
Because then you're going to have angry, wired, crazy children. But in dyslexia rooms, oftentimes teachers now are putting blue fabric over those fluorescent lights.
Oh, yes.
And as soon as the kids walk in, that blue hue calms them.
Takes it down a notch.
So it's not just a yoga thing. Like it is
there's science to it.
There's science to it, which I think is really fascinating.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
It is.
The only yoga course or class that I have ever tried was P90X. And that was not.
Yeah.
So
I will say P90X yoga is not what you're going to get in a studio around here. I mean, sometimes you can, but that's a whole different ball game.
I mean, I forget. I guess it was they're 90 minutes. I don't remember now.
There's different versions of it, but the original one was 90 minutes. And it's a lot.
15.
It was a tough one.
Yeah. There was a 30-minute version.
Yeah.
I really loved that yoga sequence. I did that one repeatedly. I found it online, and it wasn't as intense.
Yeah.
But I will say to anybody that's curious about it, like, there are lots of free resources online.
Always, yeah.
And there is a difference between what you're doing at home and the alignment that you might have or not have, and going to a studio and having an instructor that's there to guide you. Because even in the more common or what you might see as a more simple pose, if you're out of alignment, you can injure yourself.
Yeah.
Just like
through
when you go to the
repeated.
gym.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Safety precautions.
Yeah. So I found it. I needed to build some confidence in myself at home. So when I started, I just followed some like 20-minute flows online and kind of like learned the basics of the postures and poses so that whenever I went to class, I didn't feel like I was totally just not knowing where to start or feeling left behind. But I really didn't need to. Yeah. I did that for my own like type A personality benefit.
I would probably do that too.
Yeah. But what I found when I first went was instructors were very good about asking if it was anybody's first time in a class, if they were new, and offering, assistance, and also like really being very clear that this is a judgment-free zone.
Exactly.
And what's happening on your mat is about you, and what's happening on another mat has absolutely nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Somebody might be really advanced, or they might not be advanced, but it has nothing to do with what you showed up for that day.
Yeah.
And
do you want to share more on that? Because I think that's a really powerful part of it.
It's so true. I think people are intimidated by coming to the studio because they think everybody's going to be looking at me because I'm new. And that's really not the case. So many, especially if you're an advanced yoga person, you're on your mat for yourself and you're really kind of get into this little bubble, and it's like you almost don't see anybody else in the room.
Yeah.
But I will say for the new people, if you come in, it's okay to look around and like, if you're not sure about a pose, like check out your neighbor. That's pretty much the only looking around that happens in a class, other than your instructor kind of making sure that you're doing things correctly for safety reasons. But there's not any judgment. It really isn't. But I'm with you, Mandee. I started, I'll backtrack here. The first time I did yoga was I was pregnant with my daughter, and she just turned 18. So long time ago.
I know.
Yeah.
How does she know?
Yeah. Actually. Yeah.
Tiffany looks like she's about 21.
I'm like, hey,
do that for a long time and you'll be where I am. I'm like, no, this can't be real. Yeah. But I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was actually athlete of all types growing up. And when I got pregnant, I was a cheerleader. So I was trying to figure out, how do I stay active while pregnant? And at the time, it wasn't really, it was kind of frowned upon to lift weights or obviously to go running. I know that now is safe. But back in the day, that was not the case. And they kind of frowned upon any big activity, which was kind of made me nervous anyway. So I was like, what can I do that will at least help movement? And I figured out quickly that the breath work that I learned was so helpful in delivery process. And so that was over at Apple Swim and Fitness. I don't know if y'all remember that. Yeah. There's another flashback for you.
Yes. We're getting Tyler retro right there.
Yeah, taking it back. But so I went to a little class with my mom, and I just fell in love with it.
That's awesome.
So after I had her, just got on the computer and YouTube and just found stuff. And so I did that for a long time. It wasn't until, I mentioned earlier, 2017, I took the teacher training, graduated in 2018 in September, and started teaching. So I'm coming up on 5 years of teaching.
Wow, congratulations.
Which, thank you, is not a long time in comparison to some of our great, fearless leaders around Tyler, like Elise Carter. She's been teaching for, I don't even know the number of years, a long time.
I'm going to guess about 15 to 20.
Probably in the,
I mean, she's
somewhere in that range for sure.
I've been in town since 2005. The first class I went to, I think, was 2019, and she was an instructor then. Not 2014.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was at the Yoga Spot.
Yes. Yeah.
Which no longer exists. Well, kind of,
sort
but
of.
not where it did.
Yeah.
It was. I went to the one by Julian's.
Yes, exactly.
And I showed up for a class one night. We were friends, but I didn't know you were coming.
Yeah.
And so that's when we practiced yoga together for the first time.
Yeah. That's fun.
Randomly.
Yeah. And here, random funny thing about yoga with me, and part of the reason why I think I was led to do it. My friend Christina invited me to go to class. And the same day she invited me, she said, "Hey, the Yoga Spot's running this contest on Facebook to get to their 1,000th like. Why don't you go like the page? What if you win?" Y'all, I won. I won 90 days of free yoga.
I love it.
I never win anything because I'm the person who's always giving away the prizes on the radio at that time, right?
That too.
So it was. That's cool. Yeah,
it was really
Something
cool.
for you.
That's fun.
And I met our mutual friend Holly Ingram.
Yes.
She called me to tell me that I won. And she was the first class that I went to. She taught a beginner series at Yoga Spot at that time. And so I started going, and y'all, I was terrible. I thought I knew what I was doing. I was so out of shape. And I was having those fears and those feelings of I can't keep up with the people around me. Obviously, some of these people had been going a lot longer than I had. But I very quickly understood all of that was okay.
They don't care.
And I could just, I could just crouch on my knees on my mat and observe what was going on around me and learn from the women who had been doing it longer.
Yeah.
They didn't have a problem with me not keeping up. It wasn't like being at track and field and you're running around the track and you're the slowest one and somebody's telling you, keep up, run harder, come on, be faster, do more.
Yeah.
And all eyes are on you.
It's not, it's not like that at all.
It's not.
It was the most forgiving, loving environment, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
Sounds like a space where if you haven't been, in a place where you've been very active, that it's a safe, sweet starting place.
It really is. There's a lot of grace. There's a lot of love.
Yeah.
It's very welcoming. I love when new people come in.
Yeah.
I really do. And the more out of shape, the better. I'm like, come on in.
Well, then I would be
Let me give
prime
you
suspect.
Let me give you all the modifications that you need. And if you feel uncomfortable, give me a wave and I'll come help you
awesome.
out.
That is really cool.
Because that's a very vulnerable place to be. And if you made it into the studio, I want you to feel as loved as possible.
That's awesome.
Because that's a big step.
Yeah.
So
what are some of the physical benefits of it?
Oh gosh.
So many.
So many. Yeah. Learning how to breathe is such a big one. I think people underestimate the power of your breath. A lot of us are mouth breathers. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever been sitting beside someone you can hear every breath in and out their mouth? Those people are going to be more anxious. They're going to be more, there's a lot that goes to it.
Really?
But if you learn how to breathe in through your nose, out through your nose, but also a physiological sigh, breathing in through your nose and taking a big sighing exhale. Yeah.
It feels really good. You want to do it?
Yeah. Everybody.
Okay, coaches,
Everybody.
yeah,
no
let's
matter
do it
where
together.
you are.
Tiffany, will you walk us through it?
I will.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to take a deep breath in for like, let's say 4 counts.
Okay.
And then we'll take a little pause.
Through our nose?
Through our nose. And then we'll take just a brief pause, and then we'll exhale out the mouth as long as you want to let it go.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
So take a deep breath in first. And then let out all your air. Just let out all your air. And then we'll breathe in one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for just a second. And then a big exhale out of your mouth.
See, it makes you giggle. It's the best feeling ever. It's so good. It's so good.
I hope you all just experienced a nice
Yeah.
light moment in your day wherever you are. I just love the thought of anybody like walking at the park or in their car
Yeah.
and they're gripping their steering wheel
Yeah.
going,
Yeah. But that's what
Yeah.
I mean, that's what that sigh is. I mean, sometimes I'll joke and be like, exhale with a sound like you're frustrated at your kid or your spouse or your coworker, like,
and that room lights up.
yeah, it can be as loud as you want, and I'll usually get a good laugh.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So it'll lighten the mood
I
sometimes.
find there is a lot of levity, and it's interesting too. Sometimes in a studio, when I've gone to class, like the different energy that happens from the different people that show up.
100%.
So sometimes, like, it'll be a
100%.
small class of people that have been taking yoga for a really long time, and it'll just be this like intense, like powerful.
Yeah.
You feel like you're at the gym almost because everybody's
Yeah.
going full out,
and you hear this breath in unison, so it's just very powerful.
yeah.
And then
yeah.
other times, you'll go in like maybe 5 minutes before class starts, and everybody's chattering and like everybody's chatty. And then when class starts, there's like levity and giggles across the room, or friends are practicing for the first time in the back, and they're like, I fell out of that one. You nailed it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it's just different every single time, I think.
Yeah.
And that's one of the other things that attracts me coming back to it is the energy level's
energy.
different, but it's always safe.
Yeah.
And it's always felt very spiritual to me too.
Yeah.
And
it's definitely always been that way for me. And that's why I hate that there's a stigma with our Christian friends and sisters. It just isn't that way. It's so spiritual. And it's as spiritual as you want it to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
yeah.
you can come in and not think of God at all. That's fine.
Right.
Come get your workout. That's
Right.
cool.
Yeah.
Or you can come in and think about all the things on your prayer list the whole time that you're there.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's one thing that you're just repeating over
Yeah.
and over and over.
Yeah, I know that
Been in all those places.
when Premier Fitness was in business, they tried to take that stigma off of it
Yeah.
by, I forget what they called it.
Movement, spiritual movement, something along those lines.
It was something
Yeah, I
to, kind of get people in, it was like, we're only going to talk about Christian things in here. But it was like, it's yoga.
It's yoga.
It's
Yeah.
yoga. It's okay.
It's okay to call it yoga.
Yeah.
Yoga just means yoke and unity. So, I mean, why is that not?
in unity.
In
That's
unity,
beautiful.
You know?
And then
So,
namaste, which is what you often say at the end of class.
it is. The light in me honors the light in you.
Which is
That's
really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what if we all walked around with that thought every day when we
Yeah.
greeted a human?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like what if that was your intention for how you
Right,
greeted the world?
sure.
What a different world it would be.
Yeah.
It would. I often say, like, everybody needs therapy and everybody needs yoga. If every human on earth did yoga and went to counseling or therapy, we would be in a much better place.
Boy, are you in the right spot. Because we tout therapy a lot. and
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I think therapy is a good place to be.
It is.
I'm actually looking into a yoga therapy training.
Ooh, what does that look like?
It's kind of already in alignment with what I do, but I think it digs a little deeper into the therapy side of it.
Cool.
I'm not sure exactly what it looks like, but it sounds like something that's right up my alley.
Don't you feel
Yeah.
like you're kind of already doing that as a teacher
Yeah.
sometimes?
Yeah. Could I know more? Sure.
Well, yes, and
But-
I didn't mean to
and
make
I-
it sound like you
no,
are
I
a
think-
therapist, just that people are coming to you with things after class is my point.
And I've always had this personality wherever I go. People open up to me without any poking or prodding or asking. I sometimes just get a life story dumped on me, and I think I don't know if it's personality or spirit or something like that, but I've always kind of felt that spiritual gift of service and kind of being kind of a conduit for people to maybe talk to God. Maybe I'm relaying something from him back to them if they are dumping their stuff on me. So that's definitely where I feel I belong. That's my passion. So
well, you're
awesome.
gifted.
If I can deepen that a little bit, maybe that yoga therapy would be cool.
That sounds awesome.
Tiffany, tell us where you teach and when you teach. So if somebody's hearing it and they're like, wow, I just really want to meet this beautiful soul and take her class, where do they find you?
Yeah, I'm at Be Free Yoga. We have a studio downtown at 308 South Broadway. It's a brick building. There's a teeny tiny sign, so I apologize, you guys. You'll Google it. It'll be there. But we have a beautiful downtown space. You can see the exposed brick inside, and it's very, very welcoming, very, very fun to come to. But I teach on Monday evenings. I have a 6:15 flow class. It's a heated class, not too heated, but heated enough. Just flow. We have some fun. And then right after that, I teach at 7:30 a yin kind of slow flow. Okay. So very stretchy, very slow, very relaxing. It's perfect for going home. Even last night, I kind of floated my way home after class and just kind of crawled into bed and relaxed and went right to sleep. That's awesome. It's a great evening class. And then I teach on Thursday. We have a new location off the loop behind Thrilled. Okay. It's a little tiny building. We're sharing with Dustin Becker. He's doing personal training in there, and we kind of split the space about halfway. And Thursday is 11:15 a.m. And then Friday morning I have a 9 a.m., just an all-level. Everybody's welcome. And I kind of change that one up. Sometimes we go a little slower. Sometimes we go a little faster. Sometimes we do a little bit of both. So, and then 12:15 on Friday is a 45-minute class. So if you have a little lunch break, you can pop in. We've got showers down there too. So if you need to go back to work or you've got a meeting or something after, you can rinse off and head on your way and be happy to enter back into the world, hopefully. And then I rotate on Saturdays. We have pop-ups. I've connected with Gloria out at Montez Creekside. So 10 a.m. the first Saturday of the month, we are out there. She does a free mimosa after class. So a bonus. Yeah, get a little yoga, stay for mimosa. She's got a great brunch menu too.
We should maybe go do that as a podcast family and invite our listeners to come sometime.
That would be fun. And all of you who have never tried it before can come put your mat by mine because
we can have the beginner row.
Yes, we'll be the beginner
Which
row.
is everybody that's a beginner wants to be on the back row. So that's fine. But that's great for the beginners though, because you can look forward and see what's going on in front of you. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
So
that'd be
for
cool.
sure.
Yeah. We should do it.
So Tiffany, where can they find Be Free if they want to see what's happening? Are you guys on social media?
We are. We've got, of course, we've got our website online, BeFreeYogaTyler.com. And then we're on Facebook and Instagram, Be Free Yoga Tyler. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we know that mimosas sometimes follow yoga, but we've got our questions that we like to ask our guests. And I know you're a listener.
Yes.
So you kind of know what's coming.
Ready.
I know what I'm in for.
All right. So we'll start off easy. What is your coffee order?
I actually don't drink coffee. Unpopular opinion. Yeah. I switched after I left my office job of 9 years. I was very addicted at that office. Before I worked there, I did not drink coffee. So that was a tough one to break. But when I left there, kind of quit coffee for a while. And then I've come across, I started out with mud water. So it's a coffee kind of replacement.
Yes, I've heard about this.
Good things in it, mushrooms, and just good little things. But I've switched to, it's called Daily Dose, but it's the same essential thing. It tastes like coffee.
Does it?
And to me, I like it better, actually.
We might have to try that sometime.
All right.
Yep.
I'll try. You know, I like my coffee, but
I do too.
I'm willing to try.
Now, if I go to a local place like Crema or something, which I don't love Starbucks, another unpopular opinion. I prefer like a local little coffee spot. Yeah. But if I do go to one of those places, I'll get like a chai tea latte.
Oh yeah,
those are
good one. It's like Christmas in a cup.
It is. A little cinnamon.
It is. We like cinnamon around here too.
Yeah, Christmas in a cup.
Do you have a favorite cocktail?
Oh, yes.
I always love the little before.
Mandee and I were talking about this before class. No, I do. My go-to is either Tito's and Sprite or Kettle One and Sprite. Just depends on where we are. With a little lime.
Nice. That sounds refreshing.
It is. It's light. It's refreshing. And honestly, if I'm kind of getting away from sugar, I'll do LaCroix. They've got some great flavors. The limoncello is great, and the key lime is fantastic. And it goes well with like what I'm used to with the vodka and Sprite. So
I keep those at my house, both of those flavors, along with coconut. There might be some limoncello and coconut in the refrigerator here.
Yeah, the last time I was there, you offered that.
If you feel inclined. So there's one more question, and this is something that I love so much, and you know this about me because we've known each other for a long time, but I love to travel. So if we were to give you a free ticket anywhere and put you up somewhere swanky and lovely, where would you go and why?
Gosh. Okay. This is hard for me because I really want to go to South Africa. Like, I want to go on the safari hunt. I don't want to kill anything, but I want to be up close. I want to see those majestical, like, jaguars and leopards and the big lions and tigers and bears. I love, Ashley is a photographer. You probably follow, and Mandee, you're a photographer too. Anyway,
so are you, by the way.
I know,
Yes.
but I follow so many photographers on like Instagram, for example, that will share the most beautiful pictures.
I bet I know the one you're thinking of. He's like just,
and I'm like, how did you get that close?
I know, but
I want to
will
get that
post
close.
these photos of just this singular animal that just will stop you in your tracks.
Absolutely.
They're gorgeous.
Absolutely. Yep. So that's what I know I don't think there's probably anywhere swanky there to be.
Oh, there are in South Africa.
Then I'll take it.
Yes.
Sign me up. Sign me up. But even if there wasn't, I
can connect you with someone who's done it.
Okay. There we go.
Snap.
I like
So,
it.
yeah,
I like where this is
I have
going.
a good friend, Kelly. She and her husband, Steve. I think they bought it at some kind of charity function or something. Maybe they bid on it. But it was this beautiful lodge.
Okay.
And then they take you on the guided safari from the lodge.
Yeah.
But it's like this, it's beautiful. There are ways to do it and it be swanky. Now, if you also want to go stay in a tent, I think that's an option too. Totally up to you how you want to do it.
Maybe a night or two in a tent would be fine.
Look at her adventurous spirit over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a couple nights in a swanky place would be nice too.
Agreed.
Yeah, for sure.
I could do both.
Yeah,
agreed. Well, I am so thrilled that you came to talk about this because
thank
it's a topic that I love.
Yeah,
I know you love.
I do.
And that I also want the stigma to be removed if possible because I think it's something that is, like you said from the start, very healing.
It is. Yeah. And isn't that what, God is love, right? So in this practice that we do, it's full of love. I promise you that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, thank you for coming in
Thank
today.
you for having me. This was such a joy.
Yay.
The Celebrating Women podcast wants to hear from you. Find us on social media at facebook.com/Celebrating Women Podcast or on Instagram. Search Celebrating Women Podcast. You can also email us a voice message to celebratingwomenpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear your story or the story of an incredible woman you know. Send it to celebratingwomenpodcast@gmail.com. The Celebrating Women podcast has been presented by Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa in Tyler. Book your appointment today. Stop by the spa in Cumberland Shopping Center or online at handandstonetyler.com. The Celebrating Women podcast is created and hosted by Mandee Unkefer and Ashley Fisher. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the Celebrating Women podcast.